Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. I'm going to give you a lot to think about in the next few minutes in terms of your life, how life goes. It all rides, I believe, on the truth. What is the truth, though? What are the facts? And apparently, in our society, people have trouble dealing with that, processing what is the truth or what appears to be the truth. And I'm going to stop right there because it just gets too deeper for me to even process. It's out of my wheelhouse. This is what he does in helping us heal. He harnesses the power of many different modalities. A lot of it comes back to energy, acupuncture, coaching, and so much more. Chris Distefano is back with us today. How's everything going with you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Steve. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. And in my journey of life, even let's call it in the last 5 years, I've gravitated to really focusing on facts, piloting on facts, try to take the emotion out. When somebody has a challenge, there's an issue, whatever it is, well, these are the facts. I don't know if that's the right thing. It feels right for me. What are your thoughts overall on that statement or those statements?
Well, first off, it's a nice thumbnail way to approach it, but it's not going to work. It can't take you that far because our trusted sources are also dubious. I would dare say nearly everything that most of us believe we know is not fully correct. That's a bold statement, but there's I'm going to go right off on a tangent because I love this stuff. The body can't lie. It can exaggerate and it can be a drama queen. So muscle testing, applied kinesiology, we've spoken about this before. I recently started reading book number 8 in David Hawkins, brilliant guy. Power versus Force is his main book. He was a psychiatrist, MD, PhD. I believe he got knighted. I think he was Sir. And he did his calibration of the scale of consciousness muscle testing. So he's asking the body for calibration of levels of consciousness. And this book number 8 has blown me away. It's about healing, and it's about how he healed himself. He comes in, he's 40 years old. He has this laundry list of health issues. He's got gout. He's got a cane for if it flares up. He's got allergies, digestive, blah, blah, blah. Can't eat anything but lettuce, you name it. He starts working on his consciousness and elevating it. Once he does that, he begins to explore where the belief systems are. And he refused the medication. He'd already tried it. He healed himself. Why am I saying this? This is a foundational truth where we're told we need to see the man in the white coat. We need to take the pills. We need to do this, that, the other thing. We are completely disempowered for what we are through non-truths, through incomplete truths, and sometimes through outright lies from trusted authorities.
I totally agree with you. I feel that and there's a place for doctors and specialists, but I feel that we are programmed. Make the appointment. You get 11 minutes on average with a doctor. This gives you a pill, pick up the script, treat the symptoms. Side note, I felt a little cold coming on the last couple of days, and I know why. And I wasn't sleeping a lot. I was, burning the candle both ends. So then I grabbed this, which a master herbalist had prepared for me last year. Echinacea and many marshmallow root and a lot of other things. I feel great. Didn't have to go to the doctor, make an appointment, copay, all that. Again, this was from last year and still lasts. And 3 times a day under the tongue, then swallow them good. That's just me. The gentleman that you talked about.
Yes.
All the health issues.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a blanket statement or question, but for the most part, did he do it to himself?
The answer is 100%. He did it to himself because he found the cure through going inside. He found the cure. And when I say vibration in terms of consciousness, if we had the scale in front of us, I would show you on there. But you take your lowest, and it's a logarithmic scale. Lowest vibrations, fear, apathy, shame, those are so self-destructive. Our energy is pointed inward. Interestingly enough, and this is another tangent, those are very low frequency, so it's going to hit a peak. It'll be, let's say, 100 cycles a second versus joy, which would be 1,000 cycles a second. Time will go slower because we're actually calibrating slower in time. So that's why when we're feeling lousy, it goes forever. One of the reasons. But he was in those low states, and those low states, the energy is turned inward in a destructive cycle. And the destructive cycle, oddly enough, is there to save us. It's our body is saying, hey, you need to look at this.
Yeah.
You need to heal this. This belief is untrue. You are love. You are loved. One of the most powerful, this was Lester Levinson, completely different person, founder of Sedona Method. He was a businessman. He was successful, all this other stuff. He goes in, and this is in the 1940s, goes into the hospital. Doctor says, you're about to die. Your heart's going to give out. You are a train wreck. He goes home and gets ready to get his affairs in order. He spends a week just going through all the people in his life and begins forgiving them and himself at deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper levels.
Wow. I didn't expect you to say that. And yes, forgiveness is important. Very, very, very important. For a moment there, I thought you said I thought you were going to say when he started going through the people in his life, started eliminating them for the stress that they provide. Forgave. Okay.
Because it brings us back to our true self. The lack of forgiveness is the implication of imperfection as well as harm to the soul. If we examine what we truly are, we are that which is beyond harm. It says it in every major scripture. What is at our core is perfection that's shining through a lens of our humanity, which is in the process of elevation. We learn, we grow through these experiences.
Wow.
Yeah.
Always knew forgiveness was important. Didn't realize it to that degree, but it sounds like, Chris, like it's everything.
It is. That's through that filter. So every person, every being, we have different resonances, different paths that are going to help us get up the mountain. So in this path, he found perfection through forgiveness. He found his path towards perfection because we're never going to be fully perfect. But he found that process of letting go of, honestly, lies. The lies are, this person hurt me. I am not worthy because I have done X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. So, slightly deeper question.
Yes.
Let's say you have somebody that you need to forgive. And you need to forgive them. And let's say you've identified why it's important to, but it's tough. They've done some horrible things. It's just almost unspeakable. And let's say you're working on it. Is it okay, since you haven't forgiven 100%, but again, you're working on it, if you take an approach out of sight, out of mind? I'm just going to put them over here. I'm not going to marinate on what they did. I'm not going to think about it anymore. It's over there. I'm going to work on me, take care of my situation. Is that almost as effective as forgiving if they're off your radar, or it's still in your subconscious? You're still thinking about them.
One of the truths that's really hard for us to accept in this level of consciousness is paradox. That's my non-answer. The truth is, there are people in my life who've done that and actively and maliciously betrayed and, did everything, you name it.
Yeah.
And the question comes down, am I going to let them live rent free in my heart and in my head? Or do I accept that that's their path? And my level of forgiveness towards this is, I see my growth from what they did. I see how important that person was in catalyzing, in forcing me to go deeper. And as a matter of fact, what you're saying is absolutely perfect. One of the most toxic things any of us can do, because it comes down to authenticity, and we're dealing with increasing levels of refinement through the release process. We'll frequently, and when I first learned about Lester, we'll fall into that trap of our parents saying, you upset Johnny up the road, go apologize. And we've come to associate forgiveness with falsehoods. You can't force yourself to forgive someone that you still hold on to. But yeah, you're right. We can thin that attachment. We can thin that burning anger. We can, at the very least, if we can't fully mend it, yeah, put that situation, it'll be there when we're ready. It'll come right into our life to release. And in the meantime, be patient with ourselves. We can't do everything at once. Impatience is one of my issues I work on. We can't do everything at once. And so you're absolutely right. And it will be there waiting when we're ready.
That's comforting to know, because let's say you can't deal with it right now, but you're putting it over here so it's not affecting you, and you can heal. But I want to go back to something you said in terms of the lesson. What did you take? Somebody did something, the lesson you got from it. So now you turn it into a positive. Is it just as good to understand why they did it? Because in a situation, somebody did some things in my world really bad, just unspeakable. Just like, what happened to this person? But going deeper into it, I realize what they're dealing with inside, their connection with a parent, those things. And it's very clear. If I gave you all the pieces, you'd be like, whoa, textbook, man. Like, wow, all right, now this makes sense. So for me, not that I condone, but I empathize and I see why that happened. It's horrible what you did in my mind, but I see why you did it. Is that part of the forgiveness?
That's one technique.
Journey. Okay.
It's one technique. That's allowing the rational mind to be more comfortable.
And I'm not conceding, by the way. It's not like, well,
no one's
I see
asking
why
you
you did.
to.
No, but I understand. That's the word. I understand. And I leave it at that.
Again, that's allowing the rational mind.
Is that a bad thing?
No, it's one technique.
Okay.
It won't work for everyone. It will work. At first, it won't work for everyone that you're trying to forgive all the time.
For sure.
And it won't work for the person doing the forgiving all the time. Some people act beyond reason. And in that case, it has to just be accepted that that was something that had to come into our lives, an area that we had to just grow. That person may have intended it towards us or may not have, may have had malice, may not have. And frequently, we can easily give a generalization. They're coming from a place of fear, scarcity, limit, and looking for security, or looking for somehow bringing justice into a system in their warped perspective, their funhouse mirror of interacting with the world. They're trying to even the scales in there, or they're acting out a pattern that they had picked up over the course of their life. There's a million different ways to, but at a certain point, there's also, when is a person ready to become more than their patterns? When is a person ready to grow through and become aware of what they're actually doing? When is a person, and I can't project or push that onto someone else. I can only, at a certain level, human to human, hope that they begin, because that will help their suffering.
The gentleman you mentioned with all the health issues, yes. I didn't mean it in a negative way, like he brought it on himself, but in my journey, that's what I see. I did it to myself too, in terms of stress, made myself sick. So that's where I was going with that. And now that I've identified that in my world, now I don't let anything bother me. Just let it roll off. as much as possible. Sometimes is a little like that annoyed, but the threshold is different for that, and the time is different. Whereby back in the day, this would bother me for days. Now it's like all right, throw it over there. It's not. It doesn't support. Not like I sweep it under the rug, but it just doesn't support to worry about certain things because it can, in terms of your health, bring you down. So that's why I wondered about him.
Yeah, you want me to throw some gasoline on a fire?
Go right ahead.
Good. Another way to spot lies. This is pervasive in our society right now, and I'm going back. Smith-Mund repealed the restrictions during Obama. Congress did it. It was hidden in a bill. Blah blah blah.
Explain what that is, just for Smith-Mund, because you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. We riffed on that, but just for anybody that isn't aware of this.
In 1947, the State Department was given the authority to propagandize overseas. It was prohibited from domestic propaganda. During Obama's administration, Congress, in their infinite kindness and wisdom, removed the domestic restrictions. Since then, we've seen Americans going more and more at each other's throat because weakening us strengthens them being the people in power. We can argue good, bad. The actual justification for it is if even one non-American is listening, then we're accomplishing our goal. It's absolutely insane. So we see this increasing division in the country. Now, what happens is we begin to identify our persona, our character begins to identify with these divisive parties, similar to someone talking about a sports team when they begin to say we when they're describing the game. Okay. It becomes part of one's identity. And this involves actually trusting ourselves. If you find yourself at the mention of certain names, and this is either side of the spectrum, if your blood pressure starts spiking, if you begin to have a physical reaction, that's an immune system in your body and your consciousness. Underneath that, there's generally an untruth that you're afraid to connect to, that you're identifying with. Cognitive dissonance was the name that was popularized during COVID. Literally, that's how we know we're harboring untruths. Both sides are doing it, and they're doing it a lot. And I see this in people becoming extremely reactive with any facts being presented, including, I was speaking with someone the other day, presenting the Smith-Mund Act, which I believe is a neutral, because Americans as people, we deserve to not be propagandized by our government. We deserve to be spoken to in an honest way and not in a way that's going to just be pushing a false narrative. Oh, and emotions. I meant to touch this. This is super important. Emotions can easily distort, and they're a heavily used propaganda technique. But emotions are also very powerful in pushing energy. And true emotions, and these are ones from the heart, these are more the whispers, are extremely powerful guidance. Everything comes down to discernment. So emotions are a double-edged sword, definitely paradox.
Is it impactful to be aware of your emotions in a situation? For example, stock market, roller coaster. I'm at the point where I don't even think about it anymore because I can't control it. I only try to control the things in my power.
Yes.
If it's necessary. So, while friends are like, I haven't logged in. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to look. What's it going to do? It's going to be an added stress. It's going to be emotion kicking in. Why do it to yourself? That's my personal feeling. I can't really, unless you're going to consult with an advisor because you're going to make some tweaks because you feel you need to. That's different. And that's just a broad example. But is it important to keep your emotion in check for the best outcome?
So, stock market, I'll use as an example. We have, let's say, Bill Ackman or other Warren Buffett, who operates from a place of data, and that's why. Well, then I'll use an example of someone who you hear a lot of emotion, Jim Cramer. And we know about his accuracy. It's kind of legendary. And there's a reality transurfing, brilliant book, pretty high level, has something called excess importance. So once we start to have those loud emotions, we start pushing things away from ourselves that we actually believe we desire because we create too much importance. We put too much weight. We've all done that in life. Oh my God, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to, or if she doesn't say yes, and we put that much importance and we push it away when our being is contingent upon an outcome because that's not realistic.
It's not easy. Is this something you help support people with when it comes to navigating the emotion, the things that can take you down in terms of your health?
This is, in a lot of respects, what I do in every single session.
Okay.
To varying degrees. One of the most foundational lies that we've been told, and I've discussed this a little bit with you, is that we are, this 3D material world having primacy over consciousness. That's a foundational lie. That would be considered original sin if we go to biblical, because it's putting the objects above that which has created them, above the creative force. So what I want to help people do is realize that they are not disempowered, that they are part of this world. And there's whatever level a person can receive it at. I've actually become recently completely enamored with the 23rd Psalm because the 23rd Psalm has an extremely similar message in almost every religion because that is the core of our connection with creation. That's the one, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, because there's always the abundance, there's always the protection, there's always the love. And sometimes we start going down some crazy path and life will smack us back onto our proper path. Sometimes it nudges us and then we don't pay attention, then we get a little bit of a smack. But it comes down to connecting to who we are. And I'd say my biggest job is allowing people to let go of the lies that they identify as and the untruths and the limiting beliefs that they've held perhaps for their whole life. And that allows them to connect to their power, their truth, their source. And that facilitates the opening of the heart, which gives the connection to the world and to those around us in an authentic way, not in that forced, uncomfortable, pushy, self-serving way.
Isn't it interesting that we started talking about facts and truth? And when we talk about those limiting beliefs, et cetera, we perceive that to be fact, but it really isn't. and that's where some of the challenge lies. How do we find you, Chris? It's level 3 coaching, 3 spelled out .org? I can't remember. Okay. Gotcha.
And scarsdalehealth.com. So that's my two different worlds.
Yep. But everything we're talking about here is game changing, life changing once you figure out, I guess, the fact and the lies. And the part of the lies, you're telling yourself lies every single day. Some of us every moment of every single day. And I'm sure that gentleman that had those health issues is probably doing the same thing in many, many regards.
That's the beauty of his books. He really, and synchronicity. I go in, anyway, I was talking to someone about it. I come back out. Yes, he healed himself of everything over the course of 2 years. And this is what makes his story so powerful. Walk the walk.
It works. And step into your power. Chris, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it. I know we get deep here, but this is fundamental. Once you kind of sift through the weeds, as we try to do and show everybody, this is what changes life. This is the transformation. Not about politics, not about religion. It's about the truth and the lies that we tell ourselves. Looking forward next time we get together.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.